So that is a 2025 Lexus LX700h, and it is everything that the GX550 is not. It did not have to go through a midlife crisis, an identity crisis, and change its whole design language to get people back into the brand. This is Old Faithful, 3-row luxury SUV, but an SUV that can go off-road and do anything in a market, in a segment that doesn't really have a lot of competition. Does that mean the LX700h can afford to get lazy? I don't think so. New for the 2025 model year, and this is the first LX I've ever driven. I drove the GX550, but the LX has a long lineage of off-roading and luxury. But now, as we're about to find out, a much higher focus on luxury. I was just down in LA a couple weeks ago. You guys probably saw in other videos. People have used older LXs on big 33-inch off-road tires like this one spec'd with everywhere. If you're anywhere remotely close to a dirt trail or a forest service road, any type of off-roading whatsoever, and you can get away with dailying something with big knobby tires, those people do it. Now, how many of these new LX hybrids are going to be out on the trail with those guys? We have yet to find out. Full-time 4-wheel drive, 2-speed transfer case. We got 4 high, 4 low. Under the hood is a 3.4 liter twin turbo V6, the same as the LX600 has, the tier below this, and the same engine that the GX550 has, although the LX600 is rated about 50 or 60 more horsepower than the GX. And this one, because it is a hybrid system, it's rated at 457 horsepower, 583 pound-feet of torque. It's a ton of power, it's a ton of torque. I had almost zero complaints with this engine when it was in the GX550. It's responsive. Yes, the V8 is gone, and in the GX550, without this hybrid system, it didn't really gain anything in terms of fuel economy over the older V8. Now, the hybrid system solves that. So we get an average of 20 miles per gallon or 11.7 liters per 100 kilometers. And then on top of that, the hybrid system does a bunch of torque fill and it minimizes the turbo lag. A lot of people were complaining about the axing of the V8. I'm not one of those people, but this gets it just that much closer. In terms of throttle response, you'll see on the gauges here, you can see exactly when the E-motor, which is sandwiched in between the engine and the 10-speed automatic transmission, is putting out torque. So what you have, immediate throttle response. It feels great. Not quite EV throttle response, but then it just reduces the wait time for the turbos to spool up. It doesn't feel as if you're waiting for the turbos to spool up. This engine had great response to begin with, but now it's even better. I will say though, there we had to wait for the downshift, and that happens if you go deep in the pedal. It takes a second, and that torque fill from the E-motor isn't quite enough to really iron out those downshifts. And I have had a couple moments where I come up to a stoplight and I'm hearing like a clunk from the transmission, and you can feel it. It's only happened once or twice coming to a stop, but most of the time it's amazing. I love this hybrid system. No, it is not a plug-in hybrid system. It's fully self-contained. You don't have to do anything. The best kind of hybrid system tuned for performance. In fact, if you go on Lexus's website right now into the performance category, this is listed in that category next to, oh, I don't know, the Lexus RX hybrid and the TX hybrid. I would consider none of these performance vehicles, but whatever floats your boat, Lexus. It is, wow, almost got air there. It is noticeably quicker than the GX550. I have not driven the LX600, so I'm comparing the slightly less powerful GX550. A little bit of a slow shift there. That's quicker. Wow. It gets better the quicker you go, turns out. Yeah, the 1-2 shift, downshifting and upshifting, is probably the least refined part about the entire powertrain. And what the hybrid system will do, especially if we're in comfort here, but even if we were in normal, the engine will shut off. Like if you're cruising, it'll just shut off and you won't feel it when it starts back up. That's the best part. It actually kind of caught me off guard. I'm like, isn't this hybrid system supposed to be shutting the engine off? And then I look down and 0 RPM. So that's a great sign. I love that. Start-stop is incredibly seamless. Now, it does not come without sacrifice. This weighs at least 6,200 pounds. So the weight is a sacrifice. What they've also done with this hybrid is they've taken 12 liters out of the fuel tank. So yeah, sure, it's more efficient, but your effective range here, I haven't done the exact calculations, but I'd imagine is less than just the standard LX600 gas-powered engine. Wow, okay, that's actually quite impressive. So this particular trim we're driving today is the Overtrail. This is the best feeling, to be able to sit in luxury and have an incredibly quiet and comfortable ride on top of a body-on-frame SUV chassis with really good articulation, despite the fact that this is missing one key feature that the GX550 does have, which is EKDSS, where the anti-roll bars will electronically disconnect and reconnect, giving you more articulation. But this is incredibly impressive. You can see a little bit of the GX up here. It's got those edges on the hood. It looks aggressive, looks good. And the Overtrail that we're driving today does have a slightly different grille. It gets these 33-inch knobby tires, off-road wheels, 18-inch wheels here, not off-road wheels, off-road tires, guys, 18-inch wheels here. That probably contributes to the great ride quality a little bit. I can't say, haven't driven them back to back. I could go without the piano black. I don't know what else they could do there. The Overtrail also gives you a locking front differential, which the GX550 does not get, a locking rear differential as well, and a big skid plate under there. For the price, and we'll get to price a little bit later, I would have expected maybe retractable running boards. A lot of the American competition and European competition has those, so that's a little bit of a mistake. Just, you know, for a little bit more ground clearance when you're off-roading and when comparing to the GX550. Of course, visually you can tell right away it is a little bit longer, so it does not have quite as good of an approach angle or departure angle. So that is worthy to be noted. The GX has more off-road capability and articulation in that regard, but the LX has a front locking differential and ride height adjustment, which the GX does not get. So I'm a little bit confused when it comes to that. I feel like the GX could have got the front locking differential, although no, it's probably not crucial in 99% of scenarios. I have no idea what the thought process was behind those decisions. If you're wondering, yes, you still get a full-size spare. I don't know how they've managed to fit that there. That definitely looks like it cut down on the departure angle there. That probably is gonna hit some berm if you decide to go off-roading. Here's where it gets weird. It's a hybrid, obviously, so the battery is back here, and you can see the third row sits up, I mean, at least 6 to 8 inches higher than a standard 3-row SUV would have them sit. These normally would be sunken into the floor and be able to be stowed away. So the LX700H has far less cargo capacity than the LX600, and actually, in certain configurations, a little bit less than the GX550. And this is a physically larger vehicle. So you do have to unhook these if you want to flatten it, which is a little bit of a strange process. Standard in Canada for the Overtrail has been spec'd with the ability to automatically fold down the second and third row. You do have to hold these. And then the second row, you can fold down, but to get them that extra step where it flips up to allow, I don't know, a longer item to be placed in the center, you have to then go around to that door and do it from that side. So it's like a two-step process. Not only that, but the third row gets electronic recline, but the second row has to do it manually. I don't know what the thought process was there. And because of the hybrid system, the third row is exactly what you'd expect. It is compromised compared to the LX600. Okay, answer me this. Does, in your opinion, the LX skew more luxury or more off-roading? It's luxury because the GX exists. So in my mind, that would make me believe that the luxury features would be easier to access inside than the off-roading features. And that's not the case. It's not necessarily a problem. I just want to point it out to you guys, okay? So the locking diff controls are here. Wood grain is awesome, by the way. I love the trim in here, but you've got your height control as well for the hydraulic suspension. You can raise and lower that. You're locking center diff, and then over here, they're a little bit more hidden. You're locking front and rear diffs over there. Drive modes are really easy to get to. You've got your standard drive mode select here, and then there's another about 6 off-roading modes. I would just leave it in auto, and then you've got your rock crawl, hill descent control right there. Over here is your 4 high, 4 low for your 2-speed transfer case. So all that stuff is super easy to use. Physical controls, I love that. Materials are awesome. These seats, so comfortable. They've got the thigh extension, and compared to the GX550, they have 4-way adjustable lumbar versus 2-way. They're more comfortable than a GMC Yukon. Those seats are a little bit more firm. Steering wheel, physical buttons. Nailed it. Couple things they did not nail though. Okay, Lexus, I'm really gonna nitpick for you guys. I need to show you because this has massage seats, and they are some of the best massage seats out there. Butt massage, back massage, anything you can think of. But the off-road controls are easy to get to. The massage, not so much. Seat controls, well, first we had to go into the vehicle, and if you're in Android Auto, then you have to exit that, come here. Seat controls, there's only one option here. This is a redundant screen. Hit massage, and then you have to choose your seat, and then you can hit on, and you have your massage. A few extra steps that did not need to be there. So climate control, easily accessible. I'm game for that. I love that. But then there's this screen right here, which has your fan speed, which is one of the only controls here other than changing it from, you know, where the vents are shooting the air out from. Those are the only 2 controls for the climate that are really on this screen. So it kind of makes, it's kind of a bit of a confusing scenario. You can hit this climate control button, and then, yeah, you bring up your sync, and you can control the rear climate control from here. Even more confusing when you look up and you've got a second screen. This looks like it's from 2025. This looks like it's 10 years old. I don't know why they couldn't have just consolidated all of this into physical controls down here. This screen is great. It's all touch screen. We've got a physical volume knob. Thank you, Lexus. It's minimalist. It's not, you know, busy like sometimes you would get in a BMW or Mercedes. It's not confusing. Wireless Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, of course. That's a cool box. And it warns you, don't put meat in there, eggs, not sure anyone's doing that, or fish, I think it says, yeah, meat or fish, don't do that. And the last thing I do not love about this, Lexus, you need to fix this. The Yukon does this, and a few other 3-row SUVs for around the same price. Phone integrated, Google Maps, Apple Maps will not show up in the center screen there. That's what, a software update away? If you go drive mode select, look at those animations. Zipping so fast in your LX, but you can't put navigation there. Huge mistake. All right, no, not maybe a performance hybrid system, not a performance SUV. Tires just howling for dear life. Great steering feel. I love when I can feel the road through the wheels, especially on a body-on-frame, in a body-on-frame SUV like this. Suspension. This thing rides amazing. This is probably the best riding, most comfortable body-on-frame vehicle I've ever driven. Comparing, let's say, a GMC Yukon or a Chevy Tahoe, that suspension is really well controlled. It settles incredibly quickly over bumps. The body control is amazing. Something like the Expedition is a little bit looser. The body control is not as good, but it's a little bit more comfortable than the Yukon. This takes the best of both worlds. I don't know how Lexus has done it. Yes, it has adaptive suspension standard. It just gets me thinking though, for the price here, this one as spec is $150,000 Canadian or $118,000 USD. It really makes you appreciate the GX550. The GX550 looks like such a bargain compared to this at that price point. But then on the flip side, when you compare this in some strange world to the European stuff, Rolls-Royce Cullinan, Bentley Bentayga, Lamborghini Urus, those look like a bit of just a brand statement. This, in Lexus land, is the showcase for all of their tech in the SUV space, okay? It's supposed to have everything, and it does. Luxury off-roading capabilities, where Lamborghini has the Revuelto to show off all of their tech. So the Urus, we all know it's just based on an Audi platform. Those just begin to look like they're cashing in on brand equity, whereas the LX700H, even with all of its flaws, feels like the evolution of a true flagship model. And if that's what you needed to justify spending the extra $40,000 over a GX550, you're welcome. For me, I'll take the boxy one and call it even.